50 has reportedly released new footage showing Diddy appearing anxious and unsettled behind bars, and it's quickly spreading across social media. For months, there were rumors claiming Diddy was comfortable in prison, sipping wine and giving business advice to other inmates. However, new reports suggest he may not be as secure as people believed. There are now claims that certain individuals could pose a threat to him, with some speculation even linking that tension to associates of Tupac.
This guy's life might be danger over here because people think that he has something to do with Pac, people think he has something to do with Biggie, and they right here in Brooklyn. You understand? It's right here in Brooklyn, and some of the people are still mad that he made making of the band walk to Brooklyn from, you know, to get the cheesecake, and just around the corner from the Cheesecake Factory. So, I mean, Junior's. So it might be some dumb shit. So y'all need to get him out of here and ship him to Jersey because somebody gonna kill him over here. Those are good arguments, if you wanna call it, but it's bullshit. He gonna get the same treatment no matter how much money he got.
For decades, the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. have lingered over hip-hop like an unresolved scar. Throughout that time, Diddy has consistently denied any involvement in either killing.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to Tupac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas on September 7, 1996. He fought for 6 days before dying at just 25. Only 6 months later, the notorious B.I.G. was killed in a similar drive-by shooting in Los Angeles on March 9, 1997. Two rap giants were lost back-to-back during a time when the industry was sharply divided. That divide became known as the East Coast-West Coast feud. It wasn't just about music. It was about pride, loyalty, and long-standing tension. Diddy, as Biggie's close friend, producer, and head of Bad Boy Records, stood firmly with the East Coast. Over the years, his name repeatedly surfaced in conversations about both killings. The Netflix docuseries Sean Combs, The Reckoning, released on December 2nd, brought those discussions back into focus. Several people featured in the series suggested Diddy may have had some involvement. One claimed that Sean played a role in Tupac's death and contributed to circumstances that led to Biggie's. Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burroughs said in the documentary that the tension between Diddy and Tupac didn't come from nowhere. Early on, they moved in similar music circles, but everything shifted on November 30, 1994. That night, Tupac was at Quad Studios in New York City to record a guest verse for Diddy's artist, Little Sean. Instead, he was robbed and shot 5 times in the lobby. He survived, but from that point forward, his trust in both Diddy and Biggie was deeply damaged. In a 1996 interview with Vibe magazine, Tupac was directly asked whether he believed Diddy had any involvement.
Puffy was involved in the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. Because you seen what I said in the Vibe article. I basically bowed out and was going to go ahead about my life. The next issue, that wasn't even the next issue, because them cowards waited about 4 issues before they got their story together. 4 issues later, half of New Yorkers commenting on me getting shot. And before, they was all like, we didn't see nothing. In the first issue, read it, Vibe viewers. Nobody seen shit. The 4th issue, when they came back with a reply, everybody knew what I did. They knew what I said. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the bullet. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing detective work. They found the bullet. Oh, you found the bullet, huh? So what is this other shit in me then? What was the doctors talking about? What? Can you explain these other holes in me? How'd I get gunpowder all over me? That insulted my intelligence. So yes, I did say Thug Life was dead. Yes, I bowed out, all of that. But when they said that, they breathed new life.
The Quad Studios shooting was never officially solved, but Gene Deal alleges that Diddy had prior knowledge Tupac would be targeted and did nothing to stop it. He says the 50 Cent documentary referenced the incident but omitted what he considers a crucial detail. According to Gene, on that same day, Diddy, Andre Harrell, and Jimmy Henchman were together in Jimmy's office. He also claims that Biggie and Suge Knight were unaware of that meeting. Gene argues that Diddy's presence wasn't a coincidence. At the time, Diddy reportedly controlled Biggie's publishing, and Biggie was creating new material. Gene believes Diddy wanted to closely monitor what Biggie was working on. That, he says, is why Diddy was in the building, to keep watch, not collaborate. During that meeting, Gene further alleges that Jimmy Henchman told Diddy Tupac was going to be taught a lesson over money he supposedly owed.
In the interim of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told him that they finna teach Pac a lesson. Because Pac had owed him some money. So that's why he was up in the studio and was coming to the studio. Pac owed him some money. He was gonna work it off and get some money from doing a song with Lil Sean. And that's what that was about. But Pac was talking greasy to Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman wasn't the type of dude that you talk greasy to, allegedly. Unless you're 50 Cent.
So Diddy knew what was going to happen to Pac.
He knew Pac was about to deal well, yeah. He was there to see it. He was there to see it. He wasn't only there to see Big them. When Jimmy Henchman told him that, he was there to see what's going to happen to Pac. He was there for that. Because had he not been there for that, he would have went up there in the office. He would have went to the studio or the studio session with Big them. He would have went to that studio session with Big them. He knew what room Big them was in. He didn't do that. He was there to see what was going to happen to Pac after Jimmy told him. And that's factual.
Gene says this supports what Kirk Burroughs has also alleged, that Diddy may have operated behind the scenes. And if finances were part of the situation, Gene believes Kirk would have insight into where the money originated.
Yeah, Kirk Burroughs, he also said that, he feels like, Diddy was behind Pac murder.
Yeah. If Diddy played a part in that stuff, like he said, Kirk know where the money came from. I'm going to say this. They tried to, if you talk about the Vegas trip and the whole 9 yards, Kirk said that he paid for people to drive out to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? He said he paid for people to drive out of Vegas. I was heavily with Bad Boy at that time. I don't remember that part of it. You understand? I don't remember that part of it. But if Kirk knew and he was paying for people to drive out to Vegas in the whole 9 yards, it's hard to hide $1 million, brother. You ain't going to cash that in the check cashing place. You signing that over to somebody. I said 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times again. Eric Von Zip showed me and my man Boondang, AKA my man Slick, a check for $1 million. We don't know, and everybody trying to say, lying, talking about half of it got paid, 500. I don't know. I know when I asked him about, we asked him, do we ask? No, we didn't ask him. I know when he showed us a check and he walked away after he showed us the check for the $1 million, you understand?
Many of the people connected to those events are gone, but the money remains. Gene says financial trails don't vanish. If the truth ever surfaces, he believes it could be found in records, checks, and transactions that can still be traced. Nearly 2 years later came the Las Vegas shooting that killed Tupac Shakur. For decades, the case stayed unsolved, fueling rumors across hip-hop. Then in September 2023, a major break came when Duane Davis, known as Keefe D, was arrested and charged with murder. Prosecutors said he played a central role in the attack. In July 2024, a court filing revealed a previously undisclosed 2009 police interview. In it, Davis allegedly described his involvement and repeatedly mentioned Diddy, claiming he ordered the shooting. According to Davis, Diddy was angry over Tupac's public insults. A separate report referencing a 2008 interview also claimed Davis said Diddy wanted Marion, Suge Knight and Shakur gone, and allegedly offered $1 million to handle it.
Diddy's claim was an informant in 1997 who told investigators that Puffy had hired the Southside Crips to kill both Suge and Tupac, and that the Crip who was jumped at the MGM was in the group that had done the hit, and that they originally were going to do it at Suge's Vegas nightclub, but then decided to do it right away instead of waiting. This was exactly the same story that Keefe D told us a decade later. Very few people know that immediately after Tupac is shot and that white Cadillac is fleeing, one of the death row entourage, a guy named Alton McDonald, known as Buntree, chases after the Cadillac, and a second shooting takes place between the two vehicles. Alton McDonald's car is struck. In fact, within the Las Vegas files, there's a document that indicates that Alton McDonald's car had been struck by a bullet that night.
Yeah, and he even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a hire or something, you know what I'm saying?
The FBI said it was just Zip.
So the FBI told you the
same thing. He was
thing.
a dirty motherfucker.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker. Everybody crossed you. You're the last one to know every fucking thing. Even lawyers, your friends, everybody can cross you.
Diddy has denied the allegations. In July 2024, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said Sean Combs has never been considered a suspect in the Tupac Shakur homicide case. He has never been charged. Duane Davis has pleaded not guilty and remains in custody, with his trial postponed. After Tupac's death, tensions stayed high. People close to the situation said Diddy and his East Coast team were warned not to travel west. Despite that, Diddy went ahead to promote Biggie's new album. Biggie was reportedly reluctant, but Sean convinced him to make the trip, according to Kirk Burrows in Sean Combs' The Reckoning.
I seen an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in L.A. And he told Fat Joe that he didn't want to go to L.A. He actually wanted to go to London. But Biggie, he was the one that wanted to go to L.A. He was the one that was pushing to go to L.A.
That's not true. My name is Kirk Burrows. I ran Bad Boy Entertainment. I helped co-found it. I created the company with him. I raised from general manager to president. And at that time, I put all of those business plans together. And Biggie didn't want to go to LA, ended up going. What got him out there was a week ahead of time to ease him into the whole award show. He may not have wanted to go to London, but was talked into it. First time ever, a rapper of your stature getting this treatment, that would be something he would be interested in doing, but he was easily talked out of it by Sean so that they can make an appearance at an event in LA that Saturday night, a part of the posturing of not only did we come to the award show, not only am I recording my album out here, and Big is gonna help me with some of the writing and maybe do something out here where me and him did this song in LA. I'm out on the town. And it was just...
This is something Gene Deal has also confirmed. He revealed that Clark Kent, who was close to Biggie and active in the industry, admitted he wondered why Biggie was even going out that night. Biggie was meant to be traveling, not partying. When Clark asked why they were heading to the Peterson Museum, Biggie said it had been arranged by Puffy and another person. Gene says he didn't even know this until Clark mentioned it publicly years later.
They wasn't going out to no party, no clubs, and no hip-hop scene. They wasn't doing none of that, brother. But that one particular night they go out, and it was because of Puff and D-Rock. Clark Kent said that shit himself. I've been saying it for years. But everybody was saying, I'm capping. No. What do you call Clark Kent? Is he capping? He's a vice president of a record company. You understand what I'm saying? He was DJing for B.I.G. Is he capping? All these people should smack themselves, brother. Because what happens is, when people hear the truth, they can't believe it. Why? They can't understand it. But it happened. We couldn't have done nothing because it was no we. It was no we out there. Big had a security, Paul Alford, Reggie Bullock. Puff had me and Kenny. We was down 6 to 8 other men. And it's 23 people in the entourage. And none of them got no guns. You don't go Cali empty-handed. We couldn't have done nothing, man.
What still pains Gene the most is that he requested extra security before they went out. He says he pressed the issue but was refused. Puffy reportedly said there wasn't enough money.
People still want to know shit about it. They should have had better security. I asked them before we gonna go out? Let's hire some more security. They refused to hire more security. They refused to hire more security. Kirk Burroughs said the same thing. They ain't have it in the budget. Not without Big, they don't have no budget. How about that?
Later in the docuseries, former LAPD Detective Greg Kading stated he believed Diddy complicated the investigation rather than helping it.
My perceptions have changed slightly, gradually over time. Today, I look at Diddy through a different lens than I might have 10, 15 years ago. There were obviously some early red flags, but it's a complicated thing because we have to be very careful about falsely accusing people or even, making accusations based on nothing more than speculation. And we just haven't seen all the evidence. So I prefer to kind of withhold judgment on some things. I can tell you regarding Diddy back when Tupac, Shakur, and Biggie Smalls were murdered. He wasn't exactly cooperative. He didn't do what you would assume a friend or, a manager, so to speak, would do. So from a law enforcement perspective, he was very unhelpful in an area where he ought to have been contributing towards getting some type of justice in those two murder cases. But as we found out in time, he was complicit in one of them, and which would make sense why maybe he didn't cooperate in the other, because the two were, they were just, we always understood that they were somehow interconnected. And so if you're going to cooperate or provide information on one and you're culpable in the other, one thing could lead back to the next. And that's where I think he understood his own vulnerability.
Witnesses described Biggie's shooter as a black man wearing a blue tuxedo and bow tie. No arrests or charges have ever been made. Decades later, both murders remain officially unsolved, and Diddy has never faced charges. That could change, however, as more connections are reportedly emerging regarding Diddy's alleged role in Tupac's death. According to Kirk Burroughs, tension existed long before Tupac ever entered Quad Studios. Trust was fragile, egos were high, and the industry was riddled with quiet rivalries. When Tupac was robbed and shot inside, Burroughs says the fallout was immediate and severe. From that moment, relations between the camps were never the same.
Coming in, he was friendly with Big. He saw Little Sean, people like that. They wanted him to come and do a record. That was what was set up at Quad. Biggie knowing Little Sean, they were all there, C's, all of them. It was just going to be a fun night at the studio. Pac showed up. He saw them looking down from the window. His new friends were there. An incident happened in the elevator. It might have been a scary thing like this to send a message. Tupac standing his own ground, just didn't leave it at that. He ended up getting hit, getting shot. The elevator went up. Our people were shocked to see him in that state. He was shocked to see our people looking at him shocked. He thought that they knew something about it. He thought if he was in New York and he was with all the rappers from the East, they must have known what was going to happen. It had to be in the wind, and situations aren't laid out like that. And it was the furthest thing from the truth, but he held that to his heart. And then he went away. A few other things happened, got better, got repaired, went away, went to jail on a rape charge. Once that came down on him, it looked as if the East Coast must have been the worst thing and the worst place for him to have come to. And it looks as if the friends that he had just turned their backs on him. Suge stepped in. Suge stepped in. And when Suge stepped in, he signed him. He signed him to a napkin at Clinton. And that letter that he sent through Wendy Day, she was definitely a person that was connected and a mediator between most everyone in the hip hop game and had been for a minute, legendary person. She delivered the letter to my office. It started with West Side Up. So it gave an indication of rumblings that we heard in the street with him being shined by Suge was definitely true. He's going to go west when he comes back, and he has an issue with.
Burroughs says Tupac warned him that this was no longer just about music. The letter had a stark, chilling message. Tupac believed it had become war with Puffy and Biggie. There was no doubt in his words, no space for misinterpretation. In Tupac's view, the Quad Studios incident had changed everything.
A woman by the name of Wendy Day, very important woman in the hip-hop world. I think she helped Baby and those guys with Cash Money label, setting that up. She's very influential and instrumental in a lot of success. When I started in the music business, I reached out to her. She had a company called Rap Coalition. She went back and helped rappers from a previous generation get their money straight, their royalties. With that being said, I was like, she's someone I want to know. In knowing her, I had the good fortune of when she was dealing with Tupac during his crises on the East Coast, she went to visit him at Clinton. He wrote a letter, drafted it, so that she can bring it to me at the office so that I could know and be able to relate to Sean where we were with him. And the letter, if I remember, it said, West Side Up. And what we had heard was rumblings that Suge came and signed him on a napkin to a contract, and he was going to go west, and all the stuff that happened to him on the East, and made it look like people on the East, King or the biggest rappers on the East, or people that he knew, should have warned him or protected him against what had happened. And it just is not geographically laid out like that. And a lot of people caught some blame for things that they had nothing to do with. And he took offense, went west, and that started him as a mouthpiece against the East, all right, going at Biggie. And I think it's more than, that's one level of the beef. Then I think there's another level of things that were going on in the streets where things happened in the dividing line between East and West that caused a big rift that led to mouthpieces going at each other.
From Burroughs' perspective, that moment marked the real start of the feud, spiraling out of control well before the violence that would later shock the world. Meanwhile, Chopper believes Diddy was likely behind Tupac's death, particularly given how much he reportedly hated him.
The comment you made about how when you would bring up Pac name around Diddy, he'll get mad.
Yes. He hated every bit of it. I remember one time, he was like, who did you grow up listening to? I'm like, Tupac. I ain't mentioned Biggie. That nigga ain't even talk to me for like 4 days after that. Everything with Pac, like, you couldn't say Pac was anything better than Biggie. You can't put them in the same realm or nothing. It was all about Biggie. Nigga, I ain't know no fucking, it was all a dream whole song. I knew a couple words, the first verse maybe, but he made us recite the whole fucking thing. I guess, I don't know. He made us recite that whole fucking thing. And I don't think that Biggie would have gave a if a nigga would have killed about reciting his whole shit. You dig? Like, cause I grew up listening to Biggie too, you know? And I felt Pac did.
That's why Chopper says Diddy's hatred for Tupac seemed so extreme. Not competitive, not trivial, but personal. He says Diddy despised Tupac, no matter how it sounded. Only later did he understand just how deep that hatred truly was.
Keefe D situation, I think the real reason why they ain't gonna let Puffy out is because they trying to connect that Keefe D situation with Puffy. That's what I really think it is. Because if it came down to some foolishness and all that there of buku chumped up charges they couldn't prove, I don't think they got no evidence. I think they trying to keep him in there to lock in that Keefe D. You heard me? That Keefe D situation with Puff. I think that's the only reason why he's still in jail right now. They know Puff is not a dangerous person on the outside. They know if they let him out right now, he's gonna be on house arrest. He's gonna be a good boy. He f around and do all church little videos and whatever. They know that already. That's not what they aiming for. They don't care about none of that. What they care about is they trying to connect Keefe D with Biggie. I mean, with Tupac and Diddy. I'm telling you, that's what I feel. I never thought I would have said that, but I'm an intelligent man, bruh. And ain't no other way they gonna keep you in there of, oh, yeah, oh, Diddy did this to me. Oh, Diddy did that to me. I'm suing him. Oh, we got enough evidence to. No, you don't. That's accusations. That's not factual, brother. You dig? So I feel like the actual factual thing that they really trying to aim for is the Keefe D. That's the only thing that they can really lock them in with. All the rest of that shit gonna get trumped down when it come down to it. Diddy gonna plea, and that shit gonna be over with. What they going? That rabbit in the hole is gonna be that Keefe D situation. I'm telling, mark my words. Watch. That's why they ain't gonna let him out. They would have let Keefe D out on that bail. Vegas got a little thing. They'll let you out on bail, but they got little restrictions of how you can get out. You dig? So they gonna make sure your ass can't get out of jail. Trust me. So that's the only way I see that. Because the feds play a different game.
Now the thing is, 50 is reportedly leaking all this footage to outlets like TMZ and other news platforms. And if Gene Deal is to be believed, Diddy is almost certainly planning to retaliate.
We need people to put people out here that's doing shit like this, that's taking from people's families, that's beating women, that's drugging women. I ain't got a problem with it. Let's go to war. Bruh, first of all, they're gonna try to get his baby mama stories, you know. They're gonna try to get 50 baby mama stories. They're gonna try to get girls that he probably dated, that he had problems and issues with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to do the same thing they probably did to R. Kelly or Puff or whatever like that, and people tell their stories. You understand? But, you know, they trying to retaliate on what he did. Let him go ahead, bruh. Because I think he ready for it. You don't do this shit, and you don't do the stuff that he did or sign on to the stuff that he did with Puff. Unless you got your shit in order. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. I believe 50 ready for it. If they come at him any kind of way. I heard that Diddy is trying to sue Netflix for $1 billion. Ain't nothing came up in court. That's just talk, bro. No paperwork has been put in and signed into that. They're gonna have to have a reason. If they were suing him and he had enough reason, why they didn't cease and desist the thing? Huh? If he had a leg to stand on, why they didn't cease and desist the documentary? They're just people talking. Headline news. Because had it been filed in court and they had a leg to stand on, they'd have been bringing that stuff down. Oh, we can't show it no more.
Do you think we will ever see Diddy convicted for Tupac's murder? Share your thoughts with us in the comments.